It's God Talk with Sister Ann. It's November 25th, 2020. So, God gave me a vision and He said, past events shape what's going to happen in the present. Okay, some little history behind what He's talking about. Do you know our ancestors, the early Americans, experienced similar life experiences that we are having now? In 1616, before the Pilgrims' arrival, a mysterious disease caused an epidemic that decimated an estimated 90% of the 69 villages that made up the Wampanoag nation back then. God told me that the Wampanoag were influenced by the devil. They worship Mother Earth, and Mother Earth is spiritualism, not born again Christians. And this disease outbreak would be common in the Wampanoag areas for the next 30 years or so. The Europeans viewed the decimation, which is the killing or destruction of a large group of species, of the native population as God is sweeping away the pagans. This was God's way, His hand, to create a vulnerability that allowed the Mayflower passengers to have a place to be in Massachusetts. See, God is concerned about eternal salvation, and He cares about the soul. So anyone then and now can say a delivery prayer such as this, but this is an emergency. Psalms chapter 6, verse 4, Return, O Lord, deliver my soul. O save me for thy mercy's sake. Do you think this is God's way of killing off the pagans and giving each person that isn't past that grace, each person that still has a chance to be saved, a way to find the cross through allowing COVID-19, COVID-21, and COVID SARS? Yes, we know that it did come from China, a bioterrorism agent, and we know they are responsible. But however, 1.39 million people are dead of COVID. God's advice is be humble. Like if you're on food stamp humble. I saw this in a vision. 257,000 deaths in the USA from COVID. 18,735 deaths in California. I just visited Harbor UCLA last night, and the nurse showed me on her page how many rooms had COVID, and it was over 20. And I asked her, do you see a lot of COVID? She said it has increased. She said it's doubling, so increasing. So just in 3 days ago, 1,300 people died of COVID. For example, history repeats itself. In the last days, as we are in, it waxes worse and worse. See, each person in heaven is going to be able to relate to each other. For instance, 25 million people died in 541 AD in the Byzantine Emperor and swept the whole world in Europe, Africa, and Asia, causing widespread famine and devastation. See, the Black Death killed 50 million people, more than half the population in Europe. And in the book of Revelation, chapter 9, verse 18, by these three plagues, a third of mankind was killed by the fire and the smoke and the brimstone which came out of their mouths. And other plagues are the Italian plagues of some other ones in history we can relate to see that history does indeed imitate itself. The Italian plague of 1629 to 31, the Great Plague of London, the Great Plague of Marseille, the Great Pandemic, whose mouth the four powerful angels